Welcome to Sober Smash. Sober Smash. Get to the core issues with King Scott and get Sober Smashed.
All right, welcome back to Sober Smash Live. Today's special guests, Candy Spitz and Ed Schmidt from the 211 Helpline. And now to the man voted most likely to fall off a drum riser, King Scott.
Jonesy.
Hey.
The truth is that happened many times, Jonesy.
Did it
many,
really?
Many times. Back in the day, yes, it has. many times.
Never actually while you were drumming, though.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What, you just lean back or something? Or?
You know, in the 80s, we did a lot of drugs. A lot of things went on back then.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, sure. Backwards, forward, over the front of the drums.
I would imagine drummers are kind of like catchers in baseball. Everything's in front of you. You get to see everything that's going on.
You really can, but then when you fall backwards, you don't see much. You really don't.
Wow.
So what's going on in the world, Jonesy?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? Our old friend Kim Jong-un is still on. He's still on
the guy
his
who went
rampage.
to crazy cuts and got his hair cut.
Oh man. You know what? I'd probably want to wipe out half the planet if I had a haircut like that too, though, Scott. If I showed up and
I think I've gone that route a couple times in my life.
Cut?
I don't know if I went that close on the sides.
You didn't? No, you couldn't have.
I don't know, but I just can't wear those stupid gray suits that he wears every day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, on television and with all of the black and white and the photography they do in Korea, it looks scary. Right. If you met this guy on the street, though, would you be intimidated by this guy?
Oh no!
I mean, take a look at him.
No.
He's got a little bit of a complex, I think, is what it is.
There's the photo right there that we're looking at. See, that's it.
Yeah,
you can see that photo.
It's it's just hard to say that this guy I'm afraid of.
And he's one of these guys that controls a lot of people in the world. It's I don't know what he's giving people.
I don't know. Don't drink the Kool-Aid when you're over there, though.
No, I don't think
something's going on.
Something's definitely going on.
My Uncle Jim Jones, he taught me, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
How's he doing?
He's not well.
Well, we got a great guest today. Let's see if we can bring him in here.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to, we actually have two guests today, Scott, Candy Spitz and Ed Schmidt. They're working with 211 Helpline, and they've got some events coming up. They're going to tell us all about what they're doing with the Helpline, in, especially in Palm Beach County area.
Right. Here they are.
Sober Smashed.
Wow.
All right.
Hey, guys.
See, she's prettier than I am.
Hey.
A little bit. How you doing?
Have a seat. Relax.
Hi, how are you?
And if we get you guys hooked up with some headsets there so you can hear what we're talking about. And I got that right. Candy Spitz, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Ed Schmidt. Ed, you've been here before.
We have.
You look familiar.
Yeah, you do look familiar. I remember you on here.
Actually, I'm surprised because the last time I was here, the whole building was different. Your tower was still up.
No, it was still the same. Just kidding.
Yeah,
It's totally different.
I'm going,
Totally different.
This is the
Totally
one.
different. Totally. So tell us about 211 Helpline. What is 211 Helpline?
Well, 211 Helpline has been in Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast since 1971.
Okay.
Scarily, nobody seems to know that we exist, and we just encountered that in your own building, which breaks my heart to hear that. We are a crisis intervention line dealing with everything from homelessness, financial insecurities, special needs kids, elder crisis outreach, addictions, you name it. If there's a crisis, 211 is the number to call.
Wow.
So,
Jonesy, do you know about this?
You know what? I'm ashamed to say I don't. Tell us how long has it been around, and who operates 211? Well, is it a federal thing or a
It is a
state?
national initiative.
Okay.
But when it started in 1971, it was started with a psychiatrist named Dr. Alsafram. And the premise was more of a drug addiction and treatment counseling. And that has morphed over the years in many forms and fashions, and has the national initiative came out, I believe it was in 1990 or so, that the national initiative of 211 came about. But each 211 is independently owned and operated. Therefore, we each take on different types of programming, deal with different issues. Here in Palm Beach County, as we were just explaining to your staff, we also house the National Suicide Prevention Line. So you'll always see on Facebook and social media that 1-800 number that you're calling. When you're calling within our 5 counties of Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast, it's truly coming into our office at 211.
Oh, wow.
Our staff is trained in de-escalation and prevention, and they're the ones literally, when I say walking or talking you off those train tracks, which we've just had. We've had 5 suicides by train in the last 2 weeks in Palm Beach County.
No kidding.
And there's a whole initiative now where they're posting 211 signs. I think it's Palm Beach County that's
How
coming
come we
in to
don't
do
hear
it.
about this
And
on the
so-
news?
I don't know.
Is it all hush?
I said in our world, it's different. I mean, unfortunately, this is what I hear every waking minute of my day is suicide bells coming off. I said the most heartbreaking but touching thing that affects me every day is walking into our call center. So walking in every day, and there's this giant scoreboard, basically, that tracks every call, refreshes every day at midnight. We can see everything that's going on. And
Right.
seeing that
And broken
suicide
down of the
number,
different crisis topics. So
Right.
obviously sharp and red right there is
It's the suicide.
And so I've had tours where you walk through and during that call and there's a suicide call coming in. So and that really grabs your heart because you're realizing someone's out there thinking they want to end their life for whatever subject matter
And
is
you
going
had
on.
5 in 1 week?
That's just 5 train suicides in 1
my
week.
God.
But I said on an average day, I walk in the morning and say it's 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and here you're thinking, okay, so I got up in the morning, I got the kids ready for school, and you think your life is hard and whatever
Right, right.
we're all going through. And I'll walk in, and on average, the number is 8. So 8 people from midnight until 8 o'clock in the morning have at least thought enough to call 211 before they did anything. Then you put it in perspective of how many people didn't think to reach out to us, what's truly happening out there, and people don't know we exist.
Sure, and you know what's interesting is when Robin Williams committed suicide, our call center couldn't take all the calls that were going on during that weekend that he committed suicide because it brought awareness, suicide, mental health,
Right.
and since it was a national or maybe international subject matter with a well-known person, people then started to think, oh my God, I feel this same way, and then our phone lines were just inundated. And so think about Sinead O'Connor,
Yeah, last
who
week.
just sort of
Yeah.
did that same thing. It brings
Right.
awareness, and then to tie it in with the epidemic that's going on now with opiates and heroin, we're getting many of those calls with people wanting to take their life because they don't know where to turn to. They're maybe potentially hitting rock bottom. And so they feel that hopefully we're trying to create awareness, spread the awareness about what we're doing so that people understand they have somebody to call to. So one, if they feel they're taking their own life because of the heroin or opiate epidemic and they're having a problem, then we can connect them to the proper authorities to get them the help they need to save that life, or get them connections to organizations or treatment centers and so forth so that they can get the help they need so we can save somebody.
Wow, you're doing great things.
Thank you. But it's not a call in, hey, what's the number for a homeless shelter near
Right,
me? It's not a
right.
2-minute phone call. Our crisis counselors are trained to sit there and kind of assess the whole situation, which is what I love about every single one of them. They're listening. Say it's a single mom that's calling in and I don't know how I'm going to pay rent this week. They're listening for that child in the background, listening for any other sounds that happen to be going on, because one little thing, say not being able to pay for your rent, is not the reason you're calling.
Sure.
There's a multitude of reasonings
Absolutely.
that gets you to there, from domestic abuse to violence to special needs kids. I mean, I live this on a daily basis, to elder care outreach, any kind of crisis is in the home. There's always other reasons behind that call, and they're trained and they'll stay on that phone. If it's 45 minutes, we have people that call every single day just because they need somebody to talk to. Our people will sit there. They're not going to shoo them off the phone. They're there to help.
What made you get into this?
I've been in nonprofits, not specifically 211, for about 8.5 years now. So I am a single mom now of twin boys who have autism, and they're my whole world, as Eddie knows. We're not born with autism, they just turned 10. They were perfect children, TV and movie stars from birth, and at 17 months, they lost every skill that they had. They stopped walking, talking, eating, playing, and at the end of 2 weeks, they were rocking in a corner. Long story short, they were diagnosed with autism, and for the next, I say, year and a half, it was kind of my mission to get them into every service possible. And then I realized that I was draining myself and my ex-husband at the same time. One of the problems with autism is there is an 80+% divorce rate because the stress is astronomical. The financial impact is beyond ridiculous, and have times 2. So for me, the only empowering thing I could do, and to kind of take this back, because the world of autism is so uncertain, was to kind of give back. So I started with Autism Speaks for about the first 6.5 years, at the national level, touring the country as their spokesperson, trying to get parents to realize that no matter how bad this seemed, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's things that you can do, and love, hope, happiness. It sounds crazy to say that, but it can get them through anything. And my kids are so incredible at this point. I just said that to Eddie on the way here. I wish all children saw the world, the way they do. But once I became a single mom, I actually had to step away from Autism Speaks and realized I need a very steady income, higher paying income. I'm one of the prime examples that our callers are of after a very brutal divorce, or 4 years in and you're still not divorced, of the hazards of what can really be done in the games that
Sure.
the world can play on you, and trying to be a single mom with no child supports and no alimonies and raise kids in this world. I jumped on the bandwagon of a major nonprofit that gave me a shining salary and lots of perks, and realized I sold my soul to the devil. Tried for 2 years out there, realizing I did no good to anybody in our community. I was helping no one, and all I was doing was raising money for research. And then this opportunity came up about a year plus ago with 211, and once I walked into that call center, just like Eddie said, when you see what our operators are doing on a daily basis, when you see what our elder crisis outreach workers are doing, we have 2 social workers on staff who, the phone calls from my office, I can hear all of their calls. And to think in Palm Beach County, we're one of the richest counties in America, we're getting calls from our elders of, I haven't eaten in 3 days. And while they're trying to connect them to services, all we can do is we keep a very small food pantry in our little storage room by our coffee machine. And they're running out with a gift card to buy them, some food from Publix and some canned goods and something to sustain. But to hear that they're living with no food and no electricity in this dire heat, and it's not one call a day, this is all day long. To see our special needs advocate, who is the only one person doing this for all children 0 to 22 in Palm Beach County, trying to field the questions, and there are thousands of questions of where to turn. This was the selling point.
And even with our senior program, connecting them if they don't have food and they can't get out of the house and they're homebound, to maybe Meals on Wheels of Palm Beach County or the Treasure Coast, and different organizations that 211 works with. They might have a mother who has a job, her children come home from school, she doesn't know what to do during that time period before she comes home from work, or her husband, and they'll connect them to the Boys and Girls Clubs. So there's after school programs so that child, it is in a safe place and not necessarily on the streets.
Correct.
And so, I know for ourselves and our family, when we first started discovering our son had a drug addiction, 211 is really where we called. I didn't dial 211. I was affiliated. I'm on the board, but I also know that I was able to call the executive director and say, we don't know what to do here. Where do we go? And they connect us to the right resources. So we kind of feel in our own backyard, right here in Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast, so many people have crisis-related issues. Not everyone's got something going on, and we at least, some families feel with pride. They don't want to talk to friends, they don't want to talk to other family members, but they can call this and it's confidential and they can guide them in the right direction they need. Some of them are a matter of life and death, and some of them might be very small and just connecting the right resource.
I think you become their last hope.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's, to dial those 3 numbers, you've hit rock bottom. So you're saying, listen, I don't have a choice. Can you please help me? What's the biggest topic that someone calls on?
I would say suicide.
Suicide.
This year, but it's spanning not just, the older population that I think we think of, the teenagers into the young adults. This year with this 13 Reasons Why and this Blue Whale app that we're hitting the teens, I know our calls are astronomical. I know our community outreach specialist was at every event working, because teens especially feel they have no one to go to.
And what is the probably like the number one issue of suicide? Why?
I wish I knew the answer to that.
Yeah, I think it's across the board. Of course, some of it could be mental illness and not having the right medications or doctors that stabilize them in that sense. That could be one percentage. Drug addiction is another, that hitting rock bottom and they want to end this. That's huge right now in our backyard. Or on the other perspective, in connecting serious subject matter as a parent or a loved one or a husband or wife sitting, my husband has a drug addiction and our family is utter chaos right now. He or she is not only hitting rock bottom, but we as a family are too. And how do we say, if that loved one who's the addict is not trying to save themselves, the family at one time has to pull aside and say, we have to save ourselves, because then it doesn't help them essentially in the bottom end if everyone's failing. So those are just some similar calls that they get across the board. And, it may be quite simple of a mother, father who's retired and elderly and living in Palm Beach County. They live up in New York or Connecticut, Northeast, and they're not sure who's taking care of that family member. They can call 211 through our Sunshine program and get the help or care in watching what needs to happen. But rock bottom, I think, for many of our calls is there's so many issues. I mean, it could be a husband who just lost his job and has a wife, 2 kids and a home and 2 cars and mortgage and roof, and that husband is not sure what to do, and they feel like they failed, and they may want to take their life because he does not, or she does not how to go to their significant other or family and look them in the eye and say, I lost my job. We may have to have foreclosure, we may lose our home or be on the streets. And I think sometimes that call may come through, and I know it has in the past.
It has. And to touch really quickly, you did mention the Sunshine program, and that's one I did fail to mention, but that's our Feel Good program here in Palm Beach County.
Okay, what is that all
so
about?
That's for ages 60 and over. So if you have an elder that lives here, or you are the elder and you're all alone, and you just want someone to call in daily just to make sure you're okay, make sure you took medicines, whatever it happens to be. Most of the time we're hearing this is the only phone call that they get for the entire day, which is scary to think. And we've also had quite a few of the crisis situations where we have a game plan in place. If you don't answer your phone, you schedule your time. If it's 7:31 every day, if you don't answer that call at 7:31, we call you back in an hour. At the same time, we're calling your backup person. We're also calling the sheriff's office to go do a wellness check. And I know we've had quite a few just in the year that I've been here that when the sheriffs got there, they were in distress, but luckily they were safe because we made that wellness call.
Sure,
but
they
that's
might have had a stroke, they might have fallen.
And it is the fallen when you can't get up, type spiel. But that is
right.
our Feel Good program. It goes with everything.
Well, it sounds to me like there's a lot going on here. I mean, you're talking about suicide,
Right,
drug
it's
abuse.
just not one issue.
No.
What other kind of issues do you deal with? And you certainly take it a little further than you're not just a referral service.
Correct.
Because you actually are helping the people yourselves as well. Things like spousal abuse, child abuse, things like that. I mean, what other things do we kind of run across here?
Well, those are the ones that we're referring directly out to other community partners. So our job at 211 is to work hand in hand with everyone in the community. We're not just handing you off. We're going to follow up and make sure that those
Right.
people are getting taken care of. The special demographics, like you're talking about, we have the Special Needs Helpline. We have a Help Me Grow program, which is diagnosing children 0 to 8 with behavior disorders and other issues, developmental delays and things that they may have. Those kind of programs and the Elder Crisis Outreach are those specialized programs where you truly have an advocate, a social worker who's working with you along the way to make sure that you are stabilized before they're handing you off. And then you're welcome to call back in once your situation is assessed and get further assistance.
Okay. Now, obviously, I mean, is there any kind of financial commitment when you're making a call?
No. Oh, no.
I just want to make sure,
No. We are free and confidential. We can be reached, obviously, by calling 211. But more importantly, in the last year, especially now, we have 24-hour texting. So you can text your zip code to 898-211. And we have trained counselors, same as in a resource center, who will sit there and answer a lot of your questions back via text. Some people are just not comfortable calling, whether you're a teen that's sitting in school and you're being bullied and you don't know where to turn to, and, chat online. Whatever your means are, there's a way to get to us, free and confidential, and we never take too much personal information. We're not selling your data. I mean, there's all the things that you hear from telemarketing groups. We're independently owned and operated. We literally we survive through government grants, funding through our major supporters, the United Ways, the Children's Service Councils, and
Private
all of those.
sector.
The private sector, and our 2 main events, which was, one of the reasons we reached out to you. We put on 2 events a year, and that is it. And we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 through hurricanes in a very non-hurricane safe building, which we just experienced.
And we also feel as a community to create that awareness, not only with the programs we do to offer to help people, but to create awareness about 211 and educating the community about some of the hot topics. So on October 19th, we're having a luncheon at the Kravis Center, and we have Christopher Kennedy Lawford as our guest speaker, and he's speaking about the battling of his drug addiction. But we will have over 400 people in which we're educating the community about the heroin epidemic and opiate epidemic and what's going on, not just about the addict, but for family members as well, to outreach help they might need. And so it's important if we speak about it and create awareness, then we can make a change. And I find that by speaking about it creates comfort for those family members or an addict that are coping with this. And that's our job, being on the board, being a volunteer, helping raise money for 211 and awareness. It's our job to educate the community out there, because it's our loved ones, it's our children, and it's our future. And it's very, very important, because this drug is really taking our loved ones way too soon. And I think I said this to you last time. The sad part is our loved one is gone if they OD and die, but then the family's left. So
That's
there's
right.
suffering
Yeah.
that continues,
Forever.
that goes on forever and ever.
Absolutely.
And you're always questioning, where did I fail? What did I do wrong? Where did I not help
And
enough?
you didn't do anything wrong.
That's
It's
right.
just the way it goes. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back with our guests. Stand by. Let's talk about the event a little bit, okay?
Sure.
Someone calls and they want to commit suicide. Do you send the police over?
If it gets that
They
far.
have
Partners of
they have
America,
protocol that they
your
have to follow.
partner in
It's
recovery.
Yeah, they have protocol that they follow. in the
Treatment
hospital.
Partners of America is a
And so
unique,
literally, I mean, we know
state-of-the-art
cases we get
substance
into the
abuse
summaries
facility.
after the fact of what's happened.
We've had the calls
Our
where someone
trained
saying,
professionals
I'm
first
holding the
focus
gun.
on finding the
I wanted to
core
hear one more
issues in
voice
trauma
before I go.
that lead to addiction.
You know, and
With
it's
some of the
been
best
that
doctors,
severe. And so at that
nurses,
point, we know
and
it's
behavioral
crisis
health
mode.
techs the
So the team
industry has to
reacts,
offer.
they go to it, they're professionally trained. It's a paid staff. So the funding needs to keep their staff afloat. It's
We
not
offer
just
personalized
volunteers that
one-on-one
answer a
therapy
phone.
5
They're
days
trained to
a week,
handle the situation,
raising the bar to
talk
a
them
higher
through,
level of
try to see
standards.
about changing the subject matter. Oh, do you have kids? Get them to start thinking
Whether it's
about
drugs,
not what
alcohol,
they're doing for
eating
themselves, but other
disorders,
people that they'll lead.
gambling, sex and love addiction, or even relationship addiction. Treatment Partners of America has specialists to treat and to help heal your addiction long term rather than attempt a temporary 30-day quick fix.
Welcome back to Sober Smash Live. Our special guest is Candy Spitz and Ed Schmidt. We're talking about the 211 Helpline right here in Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast.
And the Treasure Coast.
Yeah. Which one's the Gold Coast?
Gold Coast. We are at Gold Coast. Palm Beach County. It's Gold Coast.
Is it Gold or the Treasure Coast?
No, we're Gold. Treasure Coast is Port St. Lucie area.
Port St. Lucie, Martin,
Yeah.
Indian River, Okeechobee.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about this luncheon event we have coming up.
I'm from New York. I don't know.
Jonesy, you're never leaving Palm Beach County anyway. So you're
Yeah,
really
that's
on
true.
it.
That's true.
This is actually our first annual event. We decided to kind of get away from just the frills of cocktail parties and fundraisers and realize we really need to tackle awareness type activities where people understand what 211 does. And since the opioid epidemic is so far reaching right now in Palm Beach County,
Right.
we decided, especially since Eddie, is a family member, caregiver of a son who is an addict, that this is a topic that we really need to address. And I think the more we talked about it and the more we got into it, and now kind of throwing ourselves in, I've joined forces with Aaron Berg's Sober Home Task Force, Jupiter Police's Heroin Task Force, across the board, everywhere I can, to realize just how many people are truly affected by this.
Oh, yeah.
I said I knew, and I was just telling Karen out in the hallway, this is a subject I was blind to. I have a few people that I'm affiliated with who are in recovery and type things, but I've never used a drug. I don't understand a lot of these things. And I actually met Karen from here, when we were at the Sober Home Task Force and hearing the stories. And at the same time, and I just shared with her, I went through a cancer diagnosis 2 years ago, and I'm going through a new diagnosis now. And I went into the hospital 2 months ago at the same time as I was joining forces with the task force. And in 4 days, 5 providers, without asking, either put morphine in my IV, wrote me prescriptions for oxycodone and everything else under the sun. I walked away with 5 different prescription pads. And when I would say no, it was almost bullied the other way of, why won't you take this? It was you might have pain, but do I have pain now? No. Can I take Tylenol? But you might need this. And for me, it was I'm a single mom of twins who have autism. I have to be perfect every minute of the day.
Yeah.
There is no reason on earth that I'm going to take an opioid, especially.
Yeah.
And that is, up until even last week. I mean, I was in the hospital last week, and same thing. The anesthesiologists are telling me, and they stick by their words of it's completely safe. Oh yes, there's fentanyl mixed with the propofol to put you to sleep, but it's really quick and you'll be under 30 minutes and you come right out and don't worry about it. Long story short, I was under for 2.5 hours and had a hard time, coming out. It's not even a question. They just pump you full of these things. Well, I'm a strong person and I have the ability to say no. Not everyone is educated on it and not everyone is saying no, or your pain is just so intolerable that when they're saying this is going to take it away. And for me, that's where this hit hardest was, and I hate that this is true, but I'm honest in saying the fact that my vision of an addict before I truly got into 211, especially, was very different than my perspective now, because these people, especially when it comes to the opioid epidemic, are not asking to become addicts. They're asking to take away pain. They're going and trusting people who are supposed to be your trusted doctors and caregivers and things like that. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to lose themselves, their lives, their families, their kids. Right. And for me, I think that's what hurt the most, and it was the most humbling of, I know I had a vision of what an addict was, and that's not true. And it's every demographic, it's every race. There's no prejudices when it comes to this.
There's zero prejudice.
Right.
We've had plenty of doctors come through our center, nurses, ER doctors, surgeons.
And that's why we wanted to really do the event.
You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
It really has no prejudice whatsoever.
And I've said that always. It doesn't, heroin or this epidemic does not discriminate. Black, white, gay, straight, rich, poor, Jewish or non.
No.
It is attacking everyone.
Absolutely.
And I find that owning a public business, that people are coming through the door, and we've been very vocal. My partner and I are very vocal about our son's addiction, because we thought, one, it would help him and our family,
right.
But if we can make a difference in the community to talk about it. And I have people that come through all the time that say, that was great, I read about Mark. Right. You know what, my grandson's had addiction, we haven't seen him in a year, or my son, or someone. And you can see them smile for just a moment that they were able to get that out. So we feel as an organization with 211 or personally in the community that if we talk about it.
It's all about awareness. And letting people know they're not alone.
Exactly.
Everyone thinks, we have to, brush it under the carpet. No, you don't. You have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because your next door neighbor has the same problem that you do.
Yeah.
They just haven't told you yet.
Right.
Correct. And people have this perspective with heroin. It's dirty. It's these are our loved ones. These are our kids. These are our fathers. These are our mothers. And, when the Palm Beach Post did a story within the year about all of the individuals that passed away in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
And the faces were on there. That clearly showed the non-discrimination of this drug and how it wants these souls. And you see a father holding their kid that he will never hold. That child will grow up without that father. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And so we're trying to create the awareness on October 19th. One, to have somebody who's battled with it, who does have a well-known name around the country, but also partnering up with State Attorney David Ehrenberg and his mission to try to make a difference so that the sober living and the treatment centers are correct in helping our loved ones. Right. Because there's many families from around the world that get a call, or their loved one is getting a call, and they're putting them on a plane and sending them to Florida or anywhere else. You don't know where you're sending them. So if it's not the right facility or treatment center for that loved one, they're out there, and it could be even a bigger problem down the road. And so we want to create that awareness to the community about the addiction, and also the family perspective on how we need to create awareness. Because let me tell you, as a family member, I suffer the same pain when you see your loved one nodding off, or track marks on their own, or missing, or getting involved in crime or stealing. You go, this is not the person you know, and you know it's not them. You want them to get better. And so our job on October 19th is to truly create this awareness to the community about the mission that 211 is doing, but also educating the community about the factor at hand that's affected across the country. When political events are going on and you're hearing them talk about heroin, and it's an epidemic, and states of emergencies are going on state by state by state, we have a problem. And it affects the community because crime is on the rise. People are living on the streets. You drive down I-95 and you look from corner to left to right, and you see people holding signs for food or money. Let me tell you, these are addicts that really need help. And how do we make a difference to do that? And that's what we're trying to do.
Great work. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Takes special people to do what you're doing. So if people need your help, 211 is the number to call.
Call 211, text your zip code to 898-211. We can chat online at 211palmbeach.org.
So you could chat online, you could text, landline, cell phones, it doesn't matter.
Pigeon message.
It's already there. and this is a national number. I
This is
mean,
a
you can
national.
call from anywhere.
You can call from anywhere. Each one, like I said, is independently owned and operated. The general premise of 211 across the country, though, is crisis intervention.
Okay. Scott, I'm saddened by the fact that we didn't know more about this.
No,
just in our
I feel like
normal.
I've been in the dark.
Yeah.
I dial 411.
And now you know.
That's it. You know.
911, 411. Yeah, everybody knows everything. But 211.
I didn't even know it existed.
No, I'm glad you guys are out there bringing awareness to
Thank you.
this. We'll certainly put it up on our site.
Anything
Thank
we
you.
can do to help, we're always here.
Great. Thank
We'd
you
love
very
to be
much,
part
guys.
of it. We'd love to come see your facility.
Absolutely.
We'd love to see it.
Love
Tours. We love to give tours.
We
We'd love it.
We got donuts.
So tell us again.
Ooh, donuts.
Donuts, we'll fly anywhere for donuts.
Do I get to go on this tour or is it no?
Yeah, of course.
You come.
I get to go on this one?
You get to come.
Hey, they got donuts. I'm going.
So tell us again the date of the event and how people can find out about it.
Sure. It's Thursday, October 19th at the Kravis Center Cohen Pavilion.
Okay.
11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. You can go on our website at 211palmbeach.org, or you can call me directly. I am the special events manager at 561-383-1144.
Great. Well, you guys have been great guests. Very
Thank you. Thank you
informative,
for having
and
us.
we'll always support you.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much, guys. Great work to both
You've
of
been
you.
sober smashed. Thanks.
Sober Smashed.